Welcome to Club Damingo, brought to you by Cyclone Comics.
Did you press record?
I press record. We can't abuse
Is it
anyone else.
recording?
You know, we can't tell tales out of school anymore. We've got to press record.
Yeah, man, that's definitely Club Domingo After Dark that just happened for the last half an hour. But anyway.
How are you going this fine morning?
Fine. I got my chamomile this morning because I've already had a black tea. So I had
Okay.
my upper, now I'm having my downer. I said that to Gary Proudly, who was sitting next to me at Scamp a couple of weeks ago. I offered him a tea. Did I say this last week? I might have said it. I offered him a tea out of my flask because I bring my own tea because it's right there. I don't have to go down to the shop and spend $5 on some lukewarm water. So I bring my own tea with me. But it's a big flask, so it's not one bag. I put 3 bags in it, but I put a bag of at the moment Australian afternoon tea, a bag of Earl Grey, and a bag of chamomile, and it's actually a really nice blend. And I got my uppers and my downers in the same
Australian
flask.
afternoon tea. I don't think I've heard of
Yeah,
that
it's the
flavour.
Twinings one. It's the Twinings. It's just a
Oh,
bit stronger. That's all.
yeah,
Yeah,
right. Okay. The
yeah.
middle of the
It's got
afternoon dips.
That's right. It's got kangaroos on the cover. On
Just
the
a shout out
box.
to the kiddies that we're having slight internet problems as far as jagginess this morning. So a bit of patience in case we do
Oh
jag.
no, you look you look great to me. I haven't had a problem with you at all. So I think it's on your end. I think the problem's on your end. It's just like the drink and draw, where Paul Spezzi seemed to be having a problem with a number of the guests, and everyone else is going, no, we can hear them fine, including me. Yeah, on
Yeah,
both ends of
people were
that. So
stunt rolling in and stunt rolling out with their bad internet connections. Yeah,
yeah,
but he persevered. So you were on drink and draw.
yeah,
Let's cover that while we're talking about it. How did that go for you?
yeah. It was good fun. Well, it always is. Did I do it twice? I think I've done it twice before. Um, Back when it was under the auspices of Comex, and this time Rob Lyle or Spedsy did it under his Psychogenitor umbrella.
Yep, yep. And
So
that's
yeah,
all. It's all viewable on YouTube if people want to catch up with that.
yeah. Look for Rob Lyle on YouTube or Spedsy on
Or
YouTube?
if you go to Psychogenitor, I think there'll be links there as well. But yes,
Psychogenitor.
yeah.
So
Um,
yeah, and that's I went out, I went not out of my way. I decided to make sure that people could watch me draw this time because I think the last 2 times people haven't been able to see what I'm drawing while I'm drawing. So I actually have in the room, no, it's not in the picture here. I have in the room like a stand with a iPad holder on it that Annabelle, my daughter, has left here at the moment because she used it for an art exhibition. So I set that up, but then I had like 2 cameras running at one that I'm looking at now to you and the kiddies at home, and the one on the iPad. So I was logged in 2 places and asking poor Rob to jump
yeah,
backwards and
yeah,
forwards. And
yeah.
so every time we've ever been online together, Rob and I, it's been difficult, or it hasn't worked, or things out of our control, or things because I'm being difficult and
Yes, yeah.
trying to get both things operating. So yeah, and then
Poor bloke.
I didn't realize it was going to be complex on my end as well, as in what do I mute and what do I don't mute, and how do I hear it and not hear it. And so a couple of times it was me that was the problem, that making things work or not work. So, but yeah, good fun.
I've got to do some research on how to set up the drawing board camera. I used to do it, but it was a very archaic setup. But that might be fun to do at some stage down the track as well. I've got an extra camera, but I've got to try and work out how to plug it in and how best to serve it to Zoom.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You were like cutting edge, Mr. Chaloner. I remember sitting in a job. Oh, which job was it? Was it the poker machine job? Was it earlier than that? I can't remember. Where you were live streaming your entire day's drawing board, like in tiny little, you know, I
Take a
don't know
photo upload,
what.
take a photo upload, take a
Yeah,
photo upload. It's
yeah.
like very prehistoric animation.
But the photos were they like 180p,
Yeah.
like not 1800, but 100 pixels high.
Yes. Yeah, yeah,
Very low res. That was
yeah.
you were doing John Law and Red Kelso at the time.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That brings back memories. Yes. Not just doing one thing that you need all your time, but doing two. That's always good. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that was really cool at the time. Still got a folder probably here somewhere, a folder full of captured images from that as well.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. But getting back to drink and draw,
Mm.
Spedsy asked you a really good question that when I heard it, I thought, bloody hell, that's a great question. Why haven't I asked him on Club Domingo? And the question was, paraphrasing,
Uh,
you've put a lot of time and effort into greener pastures, but do you have, as Tim McEwen, storyteller and creator, any other ideas that you'd like to get to at some stage?
yeah, that was a really great question. Yeah, we'll have to talk about that one day, Gary. Good. Let's make a. Is
Oh,
that really what?
that was going to be the rest of the show, you talking about all of your
Okay.
other ideas.
I'm not going to talk about what they are.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Well, just, oh,
well, look, one of the really, because I think that's a like you're right. It's a very large question, and I think Rob, because the show went over by about an hour. It was supposed to be an hour long stream, went for 2 hours. Um, and Rob was asking really pertinent, interesting questions that require large answers from not just me, from a number of people,
yeah.
different questions to a number of people. And he's going, oh, no, I suppose I know why we went an hour over time. Um, yeah, so I was trying to keep it briefish, but yeah, really important question, and one I asked myself as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Um, but one of the things that came out of my answer was uh, I couldn't really phrase it well then, so I'm having trouble now, but I'll try again. It's I've had story ideas which I plot in my head and even on paper and write down on paper and start to work out story structure and characters and whatnot, um, and get pretty enthused about, and then because I don't have time to actually do anything with, and the time passes, and I think to myself, oh, I might spend some time working on that today or whatever. It's like I actually don't have any enthusiasm for whatever it was that made that really important to me at the time.
Right. Yeah.
Um, so it's a bit of a
About
lesson there.
about that sheep that gets bored about being in the paddock and he gets up on his hind legs and jumps over the
Ex-
fence and goes to the farmhouse and starts living a life.
Exactly.
You'll get to that idea one
Yeah, not
day.
quite that one. Uh, yeah. Um, but I once had a job where I did night shift for two weeks at a time, and then day shift and back to night shift. And the night shift was, I mean, we had stuff to do, otherwise I wouldn't be employing people to be there all night. Uh, but it was pre-press, so it was a lot of just checking work and then sending it to print and then waiting. And I had a notebook full of interesting ideas. None of them I think are any good now, and I don't think I thought they were particularly good, or I wasn't good enough to be able to make them good. Um, so there's definitely been periods where I've done that. In fact, I did back in really early career, just trying to find places to be published. I would come up with this superhero or that funny animal strip or whatever, every so often for a new possible printed outlet, like a local paper or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I think I had like three or four what I consider reasonably large ideas, not like a 22-page comic, like a graphic novel each. Um, and yeah, I'd love to get to them at some point. I really I want to finish Greener Pastures first, and I
Mm.
know I know Michael is listed as the writer, but I did come up with the initial concept or at least the initial germ of the idea, and then Michael and I have worked very closely together from that point on. So I am like very emotionally invested in it, and there's the whole thing of cutting your losses, Tim. When are you ever going to stop working on this greener pastures thing? And it's like I don't. how do you decide if cutting your losses is better than plowing ahead? And it's that whole
Oh,
gamble, right?
that's a
So
hard one. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, so I choose to continue to gamble and
yeah,
plow
yeah.
ahead
I suppose it comes
and
down
hope to
to
get somewhere.
circumstances. If circumstances allow you to continue, that you'll be inclined on continuing. But if circumstances were to change and something had to go, then obviously you'd think hard about continuing greener pastures or cutting your losses.
Yeah, yeah, it would be really hard. I would cut almost everything else from my life that I could before
Mm,
I cut
yeah,
making greener pastures or comics in general. And it's not just because I like to draw. It's because there is this story and there is this emotional uh, um, uh, um, investment I have in it over a 35 year period. I know I wear that 30-year T-shirt, but the cartoon, the comic strip version came a number of years before
mm,
the comic book
yeah,
version. So there's like nearly 35 years worth of
yeah.
investment there, and yeah,
And it's what you do.
I think it'd
It's
be.
what you
And
do.
it is what I do, yeah.
Yeah,
But I think it'd be really interesting to have a psychologist or a psychiatrist or something really dig deep into me or people like me about why we won't let it go. Like, have I got my self-worth all wrapped up in that? Like, I don't know. Do I?
yeah,
Probably
yeah.
do to a certain extent, but
Mm.
also, what about that big period where I didn't really do much comic or greener pastures specific related? So it'd be interesting, and I don't think I pride myself on being reasonably self-aware, but I don't think I'm quite either self-aware enough or willing enough to to look that closely at why I'm
Yeah,
doing it,
yeah,
out
yeah.
of fear of what I might find.
Tell us about your childhood.
Yeah, oh my God, let's do that one.
Yeah. But the other side of the coin is also running out of time. I've got lots of stories that I'd like to tell, but I'm now forced into a situation at 63 with health issues of cherry picking which ones I'm going to invest more time into than others. Because I know that the window is closing on my productivity, so that like age gives you or being young gives you don't think about it that much as to running out of time to tell what you want to do, what stories that you want to tell. But I've got to the stage now where there are things that are falling off the cliff because I know that I'll never get to them as the cliff gets closer for me.
Yeah, yeah,
You have to choose very carefully what you're going to invest your time into.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And unfortunately, I've felt that for I reckon a good 10 years. Uh, oh, the phrase will come to me. Somebody gave me the 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 perfect phrase for it. Feeling our age. That's not it. It was feeling our mortality. Was I don't think it was exactly those three words, but it was almost those three words.
Mm.
It was a conversation actually I was having with Julie Dietrich, Australian comic book writer, and I reckon it was a good 10 years ago that we were having a similar conversation. And she said, "Yeah, we're feeling our mortality, and we want to get our stuff done."
Yeah,
She's
yeah,
much more articulate than I am, but that was the base of it there. As I mean, it's impossible to tell like my students who are 18, 19, 20, 25, whatever, that 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 they'll regret not getting more done while they're 25. But I certainly, wish that somehow I had done more that was more useful to what I really want to achieve.
yeah, yeah,
Less buying of and buying and cataloging comics, and more actually creating. And
yeah.
a life lived in procrastination, it starts to come into focus the later and later into your life you start to really see that.
And the other thought that impedes on stories and projects that you need to or want to get out in your lifetime while you're productive is that is it important? Who the hell do I think I am that what I'm doing is worth doing at all? But that's when you come back to you do it for yourself.
Yeah,
You're the main
that's right.
customer. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. Is it important? Is a really hard one, and it depends on on priorities, like
And it doesn't have
what
to
is
be.
important.
It doesn't have to
Yeah,
be
and that's
important.
right. It doesn't have to be important. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote down I mentioned it before we pressed record, industry versus scene versus hobby, as talking points. And they're three very distinctly different mindsets, and
Yeah.
how to approach the same output, the same thing, but you have different hats on. And yeah, they're very, very, very different. That's all I have to say about that. They're very different.
And when you write down industry versus scene versus hobby, industry and scene, when you are thinking about it, if this was a discussion that we were going to continue with, are you talking specifically about Australian industry and Australian scene, or because I feel like I'm in the scene, uh, striving for or having or having wanting to get to a point where it makes enough money that I feel like I'm in the industry. But I don't feel like the industry is Australian based. The industry for me would have to be internationally based. Otherwise, I won't be making enough money to
Yeah.
make it worthwhile or legitimate.
The thing that looms for me in the definition of industry is the business side of things, and that it's not as fun doing work for publishers as it could be. A scene is a bit of a mix of semi-pro, amateur to pro. It's like the creative side is still there and very strong, but it's not professionally set up like a proper publishing house or anything like that. So there's a bit of
But industry is for those people to make money from, right? Industry is not just publishing; it's distribution and conventions and all of the places that the creation, which is the hobby part of it, right? Which then allows you entry into the scene because you're making comics, and so you start to go to events and you're part of the scene. Industry, I think the only difference is that you have to start finding ways to monetize it, and publishing is part of that. But the level of what I do in the scene to get into the industry is just a matter of scale, really. How do I scale up how I sell it, conventions wise, distribution wise? I think they're the two main things for me. There might have been a third one for me for a while, which was like online sales, but I don't think that is.
Yeah. It's an interesting one because industry also covers the people who just want to draw Spider-Man. They have no ideas of their own, but they bring their creativity to something that they've grown up with and they want to become part of. And that also involves interacting with editors, publishers, agents. That set of muscles there. It's still using the language of comics. All three, industry, scene, hobby, all use the same language of comics, but what is done with it and what hat you wear in producing that stuff is all totally different. I think there are overlaps. But
I definitely see it more as a spectrum, even more so than a Venn diagram. I think it's like a spectrum, and maybe the spectrum has little tendrils that come in and out. But but interesting. It's good to remind myself, I think, every so often that's the path, or the floating around in that spectrum is kind of where what I'm doing at the moment, and trying to float further up towards the industry end and seeing how that would happen. I get a little bit I guess envious of and I never have until recently, of the American people who are doing stuff to a similar kind of level to what I aspire to with Greener Pastures, which is self-publishing their indie floppies, and being able to go to a reasonably large convention every few weeks or whenever their time allows them to. So like Matthew Schofield, Australian, living in is it LA?
I think so,
because he works in animation, and his crazy comic Steamroller Man. Kiddies, can you imagine that superhero? It is a man with a steamroller for a head, and like a industrial sized steamroller for a head with his face on it.
the elevator pitch would be quite self-evident for that, But what's it about?
Yeah, that's right.
It's a guy with steamroller on the head. Yeah. Chaos ensues.
And you've got a steamroller for a head. That's great. Exactly. And I feel like he's kind of, and this is the thing again, where we talk about, are we running out of time? Because he's already is he about to publish his second issue or third issue or whatever, and is working on and more pages, and and he's taking his comics to conventions, and I feel like I haven't read his Substack for a little while, so like the sands of time stuff gets kind of washed away in my head. But my understanding of Matthew's aims and hopes are very similar to mine. He doesn't want to be doing commissions of other people's IP, and he doesn't want to be drawing Batman for DC. He wants to do Steamroller Man and come to my table and buy Steamroller Man and you'll love it. And that's the attitude, the mindset that I'd like to, or that I do take as well to comic conventions. This is greener pastures, buy it.
Yeah.
Buy it, you'll love it.
Yeah. The other thing that weighs down the decision to enter the industry or to strive to go to the industry via the scene, via initially the hobby, is diminishing returns these days with the comic industry. For the work involved, as you're experiencing through your greener pastures resurgence, the amount of work involved in getting an issue done and then having to go out to trade shows and festivals and things like that, plus the industry, whether you're across it enough to realise that it's shrinking in some aspects, strengthening in other aspects, that the corporate comics are becoming even more corporate as companies buy out Warner Brothers and Marvel and Disney and all that kind of stuff. It becomes less a creative exercise and more of a maintaining IPs and creativity. True creativity sort of is getting bled out of those characters. And sales are going down, and it's getting tougher to actually carve something out of the scene and make your presence felt in the industry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think to a very big extent, I ignore what's going on with franchise IP, Marvel, DC, etc. I really do.
But there's a whole swag of people that's the end result. They want to get there.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So, and it's not like we're trying to say and we're better than that or whatever, because the work that John Sommeriver, Nicola Scott, Daniel Picciotto, it's amazing work, and it is world class, and it is fabulous, well crafted work. It's amazing. It's incredible. And then there's I know Picciotto did a little bit of something with an IP that he shared, co-created. But John Sommeriver and Nicola Scott are both got creator-owned IP, which is important as well as doing the Marvel and the DC stuff. So where was I heading with that? But yeah, for me, and I reckon most of the kiddies at home, it's that is not something I thought I would ever really do, work in that kind of industry at that kind of level. And I at this point, I definitely ignore it as having any influence, and I'll get to how wrong I am with that, any influence on how I'm moving forward. I know there is a big influence in that the mainstream, for want of a better word, of the industry absolutely influences what happens for the self-publishers. Just look at what happened with Diamond Comics, right? So I get that. But as far as at this point, my steps and my journey to get my own stuff out there, pretty negligible the influence on me. I need to draw pages, and I need to get the work to the printer. And you said that diminishing returns. And I'm not sure whether you're referring more to Marvel and DC and the fact that their sales continue to shrink, etc., even though their multimedia, blew up into an enormous cash cow with the Marvel Universe, Marvel Cinematic Universe, etc., or whether you were referring to someone like me and the diminishing returns, because I haven't tested that yet. For me personally, that's what this year really should have been about. And we tell the kiddies that there's the Club Domingo After Dark happens before the recording of the show. It was one of the things we were discussing, right? Was plans that were made for both you and I, plans that were made for 25 that look like almost none of it happened for me anyway, and it's all been shifted to 2026. And I'm hoping that I can do that for comics rather than the film in 2026. But that was the big test. The big test is to hopefully get maybe even 4 floppies out in a year, and then when my table at a convention has 4 $10 floppies on it, as well as all the old stuff that is really cheap, all the old issues are still at $2 to $3 on my table. And the trade paperback. When I've got those on the table, and I'm going back to conventions that I've already sold, all of the early issues to, will it start to actually be a raise in my income rather than diminishing returns? So that's the next test. And then the next step after that is when I have enough issues, I'll look at international distribution again.
Yeah. Well, diminishing returns.
I keep on trying to get you to come to conventions. I keep on trying to get you to come to conventions. But
Bell liked the idea of the July one. Bell liked the idea of the July one.
Brilliant.
Which was where up in
Harvey Bay Maryborough, Fraser Pop in Maryborough. Yeah.
So who knows? We'll have to try and figure something out.
We'll talk more.
Yeah, but diminishing returns versus work required, and the work required, as we've talked about for hours on this show, is beyond just drawing the pages. What happens as a self-publisher or as someone who's contributing to a scene imprint, let alone an industrial imprint, an industry imprint. All the other things besides drawing the art to get your project and product out there in a non-hobby way, in a more professional manner.
It's the thing that always makes me ask again, shall I just get a publisher so that they can do all of this? I'm not sure how much of it they would end up doing and how much my what was the term we used earlier before the show started to record, being a control freak mentality will mean I'm doing so much of it anyway. Are they really got to help me? Am I just going to do it anyway? So I'm really hopefully 2026 will be the year where I get lots of pages done so I can start to actually test all of this. Again, something that maybe we weren't going to discuss too in depth after we hit record was that Anne-Marie, who's my partner in life, and I had a pretty full-on conversation about where we're going with all of this stuff, the comics and the television show and all of it, and how much time I put into both of those things, where there's so little return at this point. How long do we keep this up? When do we cut our losses? Is it worth cutting losses? At what point do we decide that is the point? And we've still got to test out the comics better because I don't have enough new issues to do that with. And really the whole thing with the idea of Greener Pastures being either a television show or a film, we've only just scratched the surface on that journey. Like we've only just taken the first couple of steps. So there's no losses to cut there. And I know there's been a lot of money put into it and a lot of time, but it's like that's not even the beginning of it.
But when other people, other family members are involved, it's very good to have that updated conversation of where the team is at, what the expectations are, whether they're realistic or unrealistic, whether they need to change. Whether expectations of outcomes or expectations of timing even needs to be discussed and updated, or else you can get a little bit lost in the weeds unless you have these things on a regular basis. I think it's very healthy. Segueing away from that, do you know of an American creator called Jake Parker, who's got a YouTube station channel as well? I bumped into his site the other day, and one of his episodes was the 12 Commandments of Making Comics. and I thought that it might be quite fun just to quickly, because there's 12 of them, go through and get each other's thoughts on his 12 commandments. Commandments is not the right word; it's more guidelines or points to keep in mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he did. Was this on his channel, or was this
Yeah.
on the Ink Pulp channel? Because they did a big discussion on it on Ink Pulp as well.
Oh, right. Okay.
So I heard I've watched that one. I haven't seen him just talk about it directly himself yet.
Right. Okay. So you happy for me to read these things out one at a time and quickly comment to them?
Let's go.
Okay. Point number 1: finish the comic.
Where you going, Gary?
Okay, that's the comment for that one. 2.
It's the problem with so many people. I think of one particular student that I had probably 2 years ago now, Marcel, whose work was beautiful, lovely style, had a cool idea, but he wanted to make, at whatever age he is, 20 or whatever, he wanted to start making his graphic novel, and he couldn't get past the first 6 pages. He just kept on redoing them again and again, and
yeah.
and it's that whole advice of just do something small and then build from there.
Yep. My existential week that I've had over the last 7 days actually did involve a couple of hours of me thinking, should I just redraw everything from scratch and relaunch it as a new comic? No one's heard of the Jackaroo before at all, and just do fresh artwork using elements of the old stuff as layouts and story point guides and things like that, but just approach it from a new character, new concept point of view, just to sell it to the newbies out there that haven't heard of the Jackaroo before. But
man, no.
Yeah, then I lay down and let the feeling pass.
Yeah, that's the best advice you keep on giving me, Gary. Is go and have a lie down. The feeling will pass.
I think I got that one.
I text you with a stupid idea.
I don't like name dropping too much, but that's what Will said to me at one stage. Will Eisner, he said that,
oh wow,
if ever you're second thinking yourself, go lay down until the feeling passes. And the other thing that I asked him about was, I don't think this is good enough, or I don't think the idea is fresh enough, or I don't think this, or I don't think that. And he replied back via fax, just going, it's better to have halitosis breath than no breath at all. Just keep on going.
Brilliant. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's part of finish the comic.
Yeah.
And it's weird that that's the first point, when really it's the end product, right? Jake is giving us the first point, the first commandment being finish the comic, but it's really the last thing that happens when, from memory, employing other parts of this set of commandments, right? But yeah, nothing. You have nothing if you haven't finished the comic. So
that's true. That's true.
But I actually hate it when people, people around me talk to newbies and they say, yeah, the first thing you need to do is read that in comics. And I go, no, the first thing you need to do is make 100 pages without any knowledge. Just make the pages and make the mistakes. Jesus.
Yeah.
Understanding comics will freeze you in your place.
Yeah, that's. I was about to say the same thing. It's a little bit daunting, the old understanding comics. It's okay once you've done a couple and you know the language and you understand when Scott starts talking about something, you can actually refer to it in your own work. But as a piece, to hand to a newbie to go, there you go, you want to be a cartoonist? Read this. Or read this first. And it's like, what? I just don't want to draw. I just want to draw pictures. I saw this X-Men comic where there was this great scene where 2 people were punching each other out. I just want to do that. Well,
that's exactly right. Yeah. And I don't have his making comics one, which I think has a philosophical basis to it, as well as saying this is how you draw a figure and they are 8 heads tall or whatever. And that one might be a better starting spot. But I keep on sending people to How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. I just draw your comics, and if you need drawing tips, that's still the best thing for cartoonists who want to draw in that semi-realistic style. And just get your 100 pages done. Just do them. Shrink them down, print them into a booklet. Like, you need to experience all of that early on.
And there's a certain amount of magic and osmosis that happens when you're doing it yourself and learning what works and what doesn't.
And you get your style and you get your voice instead of Scott McCloud's very kind of maybe cold idea of how comics work. You want to have your gut instincts on the page, and the way that you draw and the way that you tell stories and the way that you lay out panels. You need that to just be coming extremely naturally. And if it's poor, then they need to be coming naturally and poorly before you start to work out. Like, can you imagine, like, I don't know if this is a really great example or not, but can you imagine someone like Arthur Adams being told to read Understanding Comics before he drew Longshot? I bet you there's problems in Longshot. I think that was like the first real thing that he did. And it's like, no, the part of the reason why it struck such a chord was for how crazy it was, and how he probably had mentors above him because he was working with, like, was it Ann Nesenti, I think, and, you know, editors, etc., who were probably making sure things were not working. Same thing with Kelly Jones. I read pre-Marvel Kelly Jones in a thing called Chrome about a guy who's wearing this spacesuit that's like a
What's it made out of?
over your body.
Yeah, right. Yes.
I think that's where I discovered him before he moved. Same with Keown. What's his name?
Dale Keown.
Dale Keown. He's like, his early stuff in Dragon Ring and Dragon Force is so cool. Like, the early stuff is pretty bad, and that's where I discovered him as well. Discovered him as if I, discover people, but you know what I mean. That's the first place I read him. And was very excited to hear that he was moving into the Incredible Hulk. That was his first proper gig.
Yeah.
But I was actually pretty sad as well that I wouldn't get any of this stupid, crazy shenanigans that he was drawing in Dragon Force, that was indie level superhero action stuff, that I knew that it would get watered down, but that, you learn how you like to place the point of view and all of that stuff instinctively before you start getting too boxed in by Understanding Comics or having an editor who's going to tell you, where's your establishing shot on page 2 and 3 and or whatever, it's like,
well, we've got an establishing shot here somewhere on the list.
Right, there you go. Yes, I remember it is one of the points.
So
there we go. Maybe 1 point per show for the next year. Bloody hell, I could keep on going on about that.
Oh, we can speed through these a little bit.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah, good. Okay. Number 2, word balloons are king. Of course, word balloon placements is exceptionally important for legibility of a comic book page. He's got a typo here. Word ballons. Word ballons are king. So kids, avoid word ballons. I disagree with him completely.
I love a good word ballon.
Word ballon, a king. Anyway, yes. Go back and get someone to read your comic page.
Greener Pastures #1. Look at those word balloons. Oh my God.
Ballons.
Oh, I don't know how I let that happen. Like, surely I should have.
Well, again, you were learning. Nothing wrong with that.
Terrible.
Yeah, there's a lot of wording.
It's terrible. Another one that the checkerboard sort of repeated shots, and it's terrible. It's one of the most embarrassing pages in the entire run. There's not too many pages that I would go, I really should fix that, but that's one of them.
Okay, number 3, respect the Z. They say Z, but respect the Z. The eye flow of top left to right and down. Yeah. That again, that's just
until you know what you're doing. Where, like, Barry Windsor Smith has you read down one side of the page and across the bottom and back up to the top again. It's like crazy, without even realizing it. So
and some subject matter requires or can handle disrespect of the Z more than others. Like a superhero comic, which has dynamic layouts for the visual interest, can play with that a little bit more than, like if you're doing a soap opera strip that that is in a more mundane setting. So it's horses for courses, but yes, you have to respect where the eye flows on the page. Number 4, clarity over cool, storytelling over being flash and trying too hard to look at me, aren't I special, when the story suffers. 5, use whatever tool works. Yes, brushes, pens, computers. There is an argument that's developed as far as how far do you go with AI tools. Well, leave that for another day.
Yeah, a lot of these are pretty self-explanatory in that way. It's like use whatever tool works. That one is about cutting through the procrastination or the wall that an artist will put up saying, "Well, I don't know what dip pen you use. Is it 105 or 106? Like until I know, I can't go anywhere, right?" It's like no, you just draw, draw. Whatever gets the ink on the page, if that's what you're doing, is what is the right tool.
And again, as the pages get completed, you find what you prefer to use, what your comfort level is with different tools, whether it's digital or not digital. It's secondary to getting the art done. Number 5, know the ending before you start. That is again, very important, or else you get lost in the weeds. You need to know.
That's storytelling advice.
7.
Do you really believe that though? Like
know the ending before I start?
Yeah.
Well, in a short story, you almost have to, but in a long, meandering, regular series, I think you need to know which direction you're aiming in. So when the time comes for this is my last issue, and I have time to finish the story, that you know what you're finishing.
So to go back to like one of the conversations we were having very early in today's episode, where you said, "Have you got any other ideas?" Like 3 of my major ideas are about this is a cool idea, and I don't know how it ends. Like all 3 of them, I'm not really sure how they end. Before I ran out of puff, I was really enjoying constructing what happens along the way, and I was hoping that my subconscious or the mechanics of the story would help me understand where it should end, or at least the first version of the story.
But you haven't started that story, so it's still a work in progress.
That's right. No, exactly.
Panels control pace. Again, that's the language of comics, understanding layout and panel size for effect of certain scenes. So that's a storytelling tool.
I'm pretty sure I understood that instinctively before I read anything like Will Eisner's sequential art or McLeod's Understanding Comics.
You do pick that up from reading a lot of other stuff and seeing what works and what doesn't.
I possibly was reading it in interviews as well, because I was a pretty big I would read Comics Interview and Comics Journal, and I was possibly picking it up there as well, actually. Trying to think of how I figured that out.
And again, what story, what genre you're working in also dictates on how crazy you can go with panels and controlling the pace. There's controlling pace for emotional storytelling impact or dramatic effect, and then there's just panel control for if you lose control of it, it becomes a hard page to understand and parse. So you do have to be careful. Horses for courses there. This is another one that it pertains more to science fiction and superhero comics than anything else, but sound effects are storytelling. I know some people that swear off sound effects full stop because I think it's childish and very comic booky. Same with thought balloons. But, Jake obviously thinks there's a lot of value in using sound effects with storytelling. So I'm a fan of using sound effects, but that's just a personal thing that I enjoy doing.
Yeah. I think that it's a real shame if you don't include sound effects. If you purposefully say I'm not using them because I feel like they're immature, it's like I think you're just not applying them in a mature manner. Definitely, you can do a story, a short story, or a whole graphic novel where you say the style of the story is no sound effects for a specific reason, a stylistic reason. But I think if you're just going, I think they're immature, like thought balloons are immature. I think you're misunderstanding part of the strength of the medium of comics and deciding to cut off limbs of the medium.
That could
maybe not for no good reason, but go ahead.
I was going to say that they're cutting off the limbs despite the story's face. When those limbs, those tools that you've got in the toolbox of the comics language, could serve the story really well. And just by going, "Humph, I don't like sound effects," could be a decision that hurts the story.
Yeah, it's a visual medium, and we have voice balloons, dialogue balloons. Like
Word balloons. Word
word
balloons.
balloons or word balloons. We have word balloons. Why don't we have sound effects as well? Like
Yeah.
it's and I as the person who puts the marks on the page, I love them,
Mm.
and wish that I could work on them more.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Were sound effects used much in um, Jimmy Corrigan, Smartest Kid on Earth? Because like that's a very dramatic, uh, it's a very much a drama, character driven
Oh,
drama.
yeah.
And I'm
I'm not
trying to
across it, so
think.
I can't say. I can say that
Yeah,
Will Eisner was famous for using sound effects in his cinematic storytelling, dripping taps and all that
yeah,
kind of stuff.
yeah,
So he really used it as a strong tool in his storytelling.
yeah. And I think to a certain extent, I think readers don't read sound effects. They experience what it is that the sound effect represents and moves on. If there's 15 drips on the page because of a dripping tap, I don't expect my reader to read each drip in place. I expect them to understand that there is a beat in the background of a
Yeah,
dripping tap.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, the brain does
And
amazing
it's like,
things.
why are you deciding not to utilize that amazing tool in your storytelling?
Yep, yep. I've got a cat here demanding my attention, so we'll multitask.
God
Um,
bless you, Rusty.
yeah. No, leave it alone. Go on, move over there.
Leave it
Okay.
alone, Rusty.
Sound effects of storytelling. Yes, that's true. We've covered that. 9. Every scene needs an establishing shot, either leading in or leading out if it's a bit of a reveal. So every scene needs an establishing shot of some description. Doesn't have to be drawing every single detail, but enough to establish where the characters are.
Yeah. I
Um,
found I think the day that I learned that from a Cerebus comic, how to get away with it, was before Gerhard came on board as the background artist. So in Cerebus for 300 issues, at one point a background artist came on, Gerhard, and from that point on, every background was meticulously laid out in every detail. And almost never was there a lack of bound, only ever for a very specific in-story storytelling
yep.
thing.
Yeah.
Like if the background fell away, it was because in the story it was probably falling away. But before that, for Dave Sim to try to get 20 pages a month done, he would often do this really nice establishing shot. Again, not necessarily like crazy detail, but a proper, well-grounded establishing shot of the environment and the place, etc. And then for the rest of the scene, almost no backgrounds at all, and you never felt it. Almost never felt it. Every so often, he would reintroduce the corner of a rug or
Yeah.
obviously a
Yeah.
desk
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
But and I went, oh, I really need to employ that because it looks cool as well, and it leans into what comics can do
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
as well. So yeah, it's
And I would, as you said, with the corner of the rug and things like that, prop work, establishing shots and using prop work cleverly to maintain location in a scene is very important. So it doesn't have to be drawing every single background every single time. If you can just draw a corner of a table with a glass on it that is important to the scene, or a phone, or something that places where the characters are with each other within the scene.
Yeah.
So it doesn't need to be a lot of work, but just needs to be thought of carefully.
Yeah. Yeah.
10. Comics are not movies.
Oh my God, yes. No. Yes, no. No, yeah, nah. I think the right reply to that is yeah, nah.
Yeah. Which plays into the next one, and we can talk about both of them together.
No.
11.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Think theatre stage, not movie set.
Yeah.
And again,
Which
that's
is an Eisnerism, isn't it? Isn't that? Yeah.
because his father was a theatrical set painter. He painted the fake streets in the background and all that kind of stuff. And Will was at his dad's work a lot. And so he was seeing storytelling from a stage point of view from a very early age as a creator. Mm-hmm. So to condense everything down from what a modern movie set would be to a theatre stage setting, which is quite intimate.
Yeah. So is that how you interpret that? Because I actually have trouble with that as a direction, saying think theatre stage instead of movie set. I don't understand. I definitely disagree with the idea of using cinematic rules on a comic book page. I think that they are completely different. But the next point that you then made was think theatre stage rather than movie set. I have trouble coming to terms with that.
I think it plays to the establishing shot and prop work as well. That's what I'm trying to strive that, like, only show what is essential to the story, which is what a Toth was on about, where, you know, strip everything out. While a movie tries to show everything at any stage on a wide screen, the theatrical aspect or thinking is strip it all out till it's just like most theatre doesn't even need a set behind it. If you're involved in the story and you've got two characters talking, you know, like Waiting for Godot or something like that, you don't need anything else on the stage. You take the viewer along with you. Yeah.
Most theatre is dialogue driven though. So it's the visuals. Look, I've never studied stagecraft, so I could be wrong. It'd be interesting to talk to somebody who has, who hears me rabbit on about this. But I feel like set, etc., is very much the second consideration for stage, right? Dialogue and the interaction of the characters is the most important thing, and then you think about how do you present that. Are we going to have a realist set, or are we going to have something that's surrealist or abstract? It's one of the reasons why seeing Shakespearean plays, the same play again and again and again, can still be rewarding, because they usually think about a new way to present it, or try to give you a new presentation in costuming and set and the way that characters come in and out. Because it's the dialogue which is the most important thing, and the character interactions. Yeah.
And of course, you know, like staging a superhero fight in the superhero comics is, of course, has to be big, exciting, and expansive. But it plays against the intimacy of a theatre stage. But it's different strokes for different folks. It depends on the story you're trying to tell. And as soon as you introduce superheroics into it, of course, it needs to be big and bold and bombastic. But even any story that needs to be told needs to have its quieter moments as well. And that's where the theatre stage comes into it. Yeah.
See, one of the reasons why I have trouble coming to terms with that as a commandment or a guideline is that I'm just thinking of like a scene that I've penciled but I haven't published yet, of Trevor coming home to his apartment. He comes home, he gets some frozen grass out of the freezer and puts it in the microwave, opens up his briefcase and looks at a business card he got that day and throws it away. And then the microwave goes ding, and he takes the cooked grass out of the microwave and walks to his lounge and sits on the lounge and turns on the television. And then there's the next important aspect of exposition coming in from the television. And in the background, while he's not paying attention to the television, he's looking at old photos of him and his friends. So I'm reintroducing the reader to old characters and their connections. And then the television gets his attention again, and he looks back at it. But it's like point of view of the reader, you know, looking directly at Trevor, looking directly back at them, because they're the television at that point. And, you know, a bit of a bird's eye or you know, a 3/4 bird's eye view of Trevor walking through the apartment, so you know where everything is as the establishing shot. You don't do that in stage. I know the stage is set, right? But in a comic, you are definitely moving the point of view around constantly, which feels closer to cinema to me. Not that I'm obeying cinematic rules of 180 degrees and all of that stuff, but it is a editing of point of view, which you can't do on stage. You have other tricks to direct view, but you can't edit point of view.
Yeah, your mileage may vary, and Eisner certainly used the theatrical setup later in his career for his other more adult graphic novels, Signal from Space and Contract with God and all that kind of stuff. He used a more theatrical, locked-in view of 3/4 human, you know, from the hips up, or the full body shot, like you're watching a stage show, more and more as he got older. But that, again, that was the story he was trying to tell, was not big, bombastic space scenes. They were intimate living room conversations and drama that he was imparting in all of his latter career graphic novels. So horses for courses.
Interesting. Yeah.
And the last one, color controls mood, which is rather obvious, I suppose. Even in black and white or limited palette comics, grey tones and heavy ink work and light ink work, and color does control mood to a certain extent. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that were his 12, guiding or points to keep in mind. He says commandments, but points to keep in mind. And again, once you do your pages, all these things the mileage may vary for each of these things. Even finishing a comic, if you're doing a regular series about a superhero, for example, you may never want to finish. You just want to keep on going and going and going, like Superman and Batman and Spider-Man adventures. There may not be an end to it. It's just the ongoing adventures of.
You're such a caring person, Gary, making sure that you're including the people who are working on the franchise IP in these discussions. Again, I ignore all of that because it's like so far outside of what my experience or desire is likely to be.
What I'm scared of is not talking about the other aspects of comics, the other genres of comics enough, and that superheroes tend to come into the room and go stomp, stomp, stomp. We're the main guy in town. Like, you watch these YouTube videos, and they're all superhero eccentric, and it's like when you're talking about the comic industry, you're talking about the US superhero comic book industry, which is a smaller part of a much larger whole. And I always get concerned about dwelling on superheroics a bit too much. But, is that our target market who are watching us at the moment? I don't know. But, I kind of resent the
I don't have a target market. I just have the kiddies at home.
Yeah, the kiddies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of resent the bully in the room sometimes, because there's other stuff going on that doesn't get as much exposure, and it should. So that's all I have to say about that.
Hey, while we're on the subject, taking out of the equation wonderful people like John Someriver and Daniel Picciotto and Nicholas Scott and other people who are working at that level for superheroes, do we have any superhero comics being made in Australia, like at the indie level?
Steamroller Man. Oh, no, he's in America.
I count him. Absolutely. He's our brethren.
Yeah, Steamroller Man.
And at Battery Hen. I hope Ryan gets back on that. That's like a superhero comic. Just interesting, I mean, this is a discussion. It's often a panel, sometimes a panel at conventions or literary fairs or whatever, about Australians and superheroes, and how did that work? How does that work? It looks like we're going through a period where there's not much in the way of superheroes right now, right?
Not new concepts. I mean, Southern Squadron and Dark Nebula are still being published by Reverie. That's new material. I don't have my finger on it.
Is it Wombat Man? Wombat Man. And if I don't mention a comic that's out there, it's only because I'm ignorant or forgetful rather than ignorant. But normally I see what's going on.
Yeah.
But
does Stellar Lands have superpowered?
Well, see, I was thinking of that specifically as well, because maybe we're taking that level of ability, that ability to write and draw at that industry standard level of superhero comics, that industry standard, and instead of making a comic that's superhero based, and therefore how do we compete, making something that's sci-fi based or fantasy based or something instead, not specifically superheroes.
There's Outlaw that's being released by is that a comics one as well? I think it might have been.
There's two. Is there two or three like Ned Kelly related type superheroes?
2 or 3 dozen,
kind of at different levels. True.
Personally, if I was to have an idea of featuring Ned Kelly, I'd lie down until the feeling passes. But I'm sure someone could carve some original storytelling using that whole premise. But
that was a great part of the drink and draw as well with um what's his name, doing a third Kelly in a row. He did a Kelly character for the first and the
Quick
second of the
Nick.
drink and draws, and then
Quick,
yeah, Quick Nick Cleary. Yeah, did Paul Kelly the singer because he'd run out of Ned Kelly things to do, so he did
yeah,
Paul Kelly,
yeah,
which was great, great
yeah.
idea.
Or for Kelly from Married with Children.
That's right. I was trying to keep it Australian.
Right, yeah, right. And the other thing that we don't talk so much about, I don't know why, is and superheroics is the Phantom, of course, where he's not superpowered, but he has,
Of course.
yeah,
No,
and
he's definitely a superhero. Yeah.
yeah, and the amount of local talent that has worked on the Phantom stories over the last 10,
Yeah.
20 years is
Yeah.
quite amazing as well.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. And that will often get to an international distribution level as well. Sometimes those stories are picked up by the Swedish reprint companies through analogs in Sweden.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Okay.
Do you
That
have
was a
anything
weird
else?
segue. Sorry I did that.
Keep on apologising. You got anything on your list that you want to definitely say?
Yeah, let's bring it back to me. I had this printed. I showed it to you before the show.
Yeah, the bigger version. Yeah.
Yes. So last week was it, or the week before? I showed you this little
The
version.
puny little ball. Yeah, puny.
Yeah, puny little version. And now we've upsized it and got the new pedestal, and probably a little bit too big. It takes a little while too long to print, especially if I want to print, tens of them. It looks like we can only really print one a day,
Right.
and the print is being used by not just me.
Yeah.
Um,
That looks amazing.
so yeah, we're getting there.
There's less hair on the head in that sculpt.
There's no hair on the head. So this
Right.
is to show you the two small ones. One of them was scanned, this
Right.
one
Yeah.
was scanned from Alistair actually wearing the prosthetic. So the hair was on top.
Mhm.
And then this one was scanned from the sculpt before it was destroyed. So it works a lot better without the hair, I think. I think there's no way that we can scan that and make it look nice, and I don't have the time or the skills to do any 3D modeling. And you'll see, like, these all need a lot of cleanup anyway. Look at the end of that horn is quite
chunky.
blunt.
Yeah.
So
That wouldn't do any damage.
I want to get somebody to do a little bit of modeling on the eyes and make it look like the eyes are open instead of closed. So
and as well,
that would probably be the
maybe
icing on the cake.
Maybe each statue can have a little bit of hair. There's that bit of fluff on top, like a toupee. That is like those old troll pencils, with a bit of fluff on the end. You do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shut up, Gary.
Comes in two parts. We'll probably glue them together before selling them when we finally get to that point.
Cool. Looking good. Yeah.
Free pedestal model that we downloaded off the internet.
Yeah, nice.
Annabelle is the person who's clever with the printer. And sorts out the printing for me.
I do like the size. I do like the size. Yeah.
Yeah, and it looks really great on the desk. I'd like to keep it this size, but I think we're printing them. We're doing another test run at the moment, slightly smaller, like 10% smaller.
Yeah.
And then when I'm happy with that, then I'll look at finding somebody who can help with the 3D model. It needs a little bit of help.
Yeah.
And I'm not very good at asking for help. And I asked for help on Facebook the other day. I don't know if you saw that, and said, where's a good place that I can set up a t-shirt shop on the internet? Just one of those storefronts like Redbubble or whatever, but what's the best version? So I've got lots of advice on that if you want to look me up on Facebook and see what that conversation was like.
You have all your socials underneath this little panel here. Yes. Yeah,
nice.
Which is weird because at the moment there's nothing there that you're pointing at. Nothing,
that's right.
Trust me.
It'll be there.
Yeah.
What else have I got? Can I talk about what I drew for Isaac George?
Yeah, go on.
So again, on the drink and draw, I started drawing this cover that I've been promising Isaac George for about 18 months for
Well,
his comic Bronwyn, who's like a
nice.
barbarian woman.
Yeah,
And he specifically wanted to have like a bit of a crossover. He's done a few of these with other people's characters on the cover as well.
that looks lovely.
Yeah, it was good fun. Did the pencils on the drinker drawer. And then at a very, very quiet event I went to on Saturday, the WaveCon in Waverley, at Waverley Library in Bondi Junction, I started inking it. So I got most of the main inks done while I was sitting at that table. And then I finished it on the Sunday. So yeah,
Cool.
done.
Yeah.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, done. Finish the comic. Finish the cover. Finish the
That's
artwork.
right.
Yes.
So Zach's going to color that.
Yes.
One of the things I said to Zach was I don't have time for coloring because that actually would take me another week. So he's going to color it, and I from what I can tell, Isaac, is going to print either a black line or a blue line from my scan onto some board and color it with alcohol-based markers, Copic markers, that kind of thing,
Nice. Yeah.
which is his usual way of coloring. And I'm really keen to see that. I've never had that done before, so I'm very keen to see somebody else color my work. So that would be great. And he said it's probably going to be Bronwyn issue 6 coming out in January of 2026. So
Wow.
that'll be cool. I'll have a cover on the newsstands or the wherever.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The only thing I'd like to mention is that Louis Joyce, our friend of the show, Louis Joyce, was a guest on Lauren Marshall's Sketch Biz podcast last week. I think by now, last week, 2 weeks ago, and that's worth tracking down because that's got some drawing cams on it and things like that. So I
haven't watched that one yet.
Yeah, but Louis always good value, and good on you, Lauren, for hosting that show. Always worth dipping your toe in to hear what who she's talking to. So
absolutely,
and that's it for me.
And I got contacted by Peter Lane, who makes Sky's Cavern Library, writes that. Because we were talking about him being in Furlough, Antarctic Press's anthology Furlough, and he said it looks like he's not in 201 after all. The solicits have come out, and he can't. He's got a different cover, and he can't see his name or Sky listed. So he's hoping it's just bumped back one issue. But keep an eye out if that's piqued your interest. Keep an eye out for Furlough until Sky's Cavern Library does make it. So he's not 100% sure, but it looks pretty sure that it's not in 201.
Yeah, cool. Okay. I think that'll do us.
I think that was everything.
Yeah, why don't you say goodbye to the kiddies for this week?
See you, kiddies. See you in a week's time.